Welcome back to No More Late Fees. This week, we're thrilled to welcome author, musician, and cultural commentator Kaila Yu to the podcast. Welcome to the No More Late Fees podcast. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Danielle, and we're just two best friends and ex-Blockbuster employees rewatching some of the best and worst movies from the late 90s and early 2000s. This week, we're joined by author, musician, and cultural commentator Kaila Yu. Kaila's debut memoir, Fetishize, is out now and takes us through her incredible journey from being a pinup model and frontwoman for the band Nylon Pink, and also confronting the objectification and stereotypes that shaped her identity. If you grew up in the era of Memoirs of a Geisha, Harajuku girls, and early 2000s beauty standards, then this conversation will hit home. Welcome to the podcast, Kaila. We're so happy to have you. As you know, we love 90s and 2000s, so diving into your book has been a true pleasure for us. Obviously, your memoir was very important, especially when you reflect and look back at those times. Why did you decide this was the perfect time for it to come out?
No, it was all by accident. I didn't decide for it to come out now. I wanted it to come out 3 years ago when I signed the book deal, but then they told me it takes years before it actually comes out. So that was really difficult for me, being an impatient person. But I had also never decided to write a memoir. What happened was the pandemic happened. And then there was all this Asian hate that came out of nowhere. And I had never experienced such outright racism as was happening during the pandemic. And then a year after the Stop Asian Hate stuff happened, the spa shootings happened, where this sex addicted shooter went into some massage parlors that he frequented and shot 8 people dead, and 6 of them were Asian women. And then the media tried to say it wasn't sexually or racially motivated, which I think every Asian, especially Asian woman, knew what it was immediately.
Right.
So I think that ultimately became when I started reflecting on things and what inspired the book.
There was so much going on in the last few years. It's been insane. I think one of the things that I've noticed is how much the media in America especially has it trained for us to have a certain worldview at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're glad that you finally got it done.
Yeah.
Yes.
But so what was the process? How did you first start taking some of these memories and breaking it down for the book?
Yeah, I very much wanted to kind of delve into the media that influenced me growing up. And it was pretty easy to do because there wasn't that much Asian representation. So there's only 5 things I could choose from. And they really shaped our idea of Asian women, because what else did anyone have to look at or read, really? One of the major ones that I dedicate a chapter to is Memoirs of a Geisha.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen or read the book, but yeah, I rewatched it recently or in the last year or so, and it's definitely pretty problematic on many levels. So yeah, it was kind of fun. I mean, because I loved Memoirs of a Geisha, the book and the movie growing up. I read that book so many times, but it's just basically anti-feminist and totally inaccurate and presented as a memoir,
right.
So presented as reality.
I haven't watched can't wait for us to do that movie on the podcast. That's going
to do it. Yeah.
We have certain movies from the first 15 minutes. I'm this was written by a man. Certain movies that we held in such high regard growing up, and then you just watch it as a fully formed adult and you're oh yeah, the women are just caricatures to uphold the male characters. And so I
just saw this funny meme today where it was male directors and writers, women do not use lipstick to write on mirror right, because it's wasteful. Yeah. That's not a thing.
Yeah, some of the things that we see we're just like absolutely floored by. But it's been really interesting to see which movies still kind of hold up and aren't as problematic as you would maybe think. But a lot of them are written by women. We've
Oh,
done
really?
Bring It On,
Okay.
and that still holds up. Legally Blonde, surprisingly, it could have used some more diversity, but it definitely held up from it being from a woman's gaze. Like, everything that Elle wore and stuff, everything that she did, it
Mhm.
was very interesting how, I don't know, feminist that movie was.
Mhm.
You put a bunch of pink and bubblegum stuff and people think, oh, that's girly, but it held up pretty well. So many
Yeah.
movies that we've been watching, we were like, oh,
Oh,
not
okay.
bad.
Good to
Not
hear
bad.
that not everything was toxic back
Yeah.
then.
Not everything.
No.
We did Fast and Furious, I think, last year.
Okay.
Say what you must about it, regardless, it had a lot of representation, especially we did the
Yeah.
first one. It had a plot. We're like, damn, we forgot that these movies started as them stealing from trucks.
Yeah.
Now they're flying in the air.
Yeah. Now, somebody described the first Fast and Furious as Point Break, but with cars. And I thought
Yes,
that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
it definitely is. We're like, this is a ripoff, but we're not mad
Very
at
good. Yeah. It was an
it.
entertaining watch. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have a connection to the Fast and the Furious franchise. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so from the Asian point of view, lots of diversity, but there's a little bit of problematic parts to it, which is
Mm,
basically like the entire Fast and Furious franchise was initially inspired by the import car show scene, which is the Asian American subculture. And that's why for the first movie, they consulted with people from the industry and even had them do cameos in the film. And Asians were kind of pissed off about it because they're like, oh, we created this scene. Why are we the villains in this?
Mhm.
yeah.
And then I had a little cameo in Tokyo Drift, which I think was episode 3.
Hmm.
And that was somewhat better because there was like an Asian guy who was, well, okay, I forgot his
Is
name,
it
Hans.
Tanya?
Mhm.
Some K. He was not a villain. He was a good guy, but he played still a stereotype of what they call like the Asian Sifu character, who's like
Mm.
he's a sagely like who's that Karate Kid guy,
Oh,
Mr.
Mr.
Oh, Mr.
Like he's
Miyagi.
like a
Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi in a
Yeah.
different form. And then in the Tokyo Drift, it's like two white characters in Japan falling in love. But like,
Right.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
It
Like
was
the white
really
savior.
interesting.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was really interesting in your chapter on Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, where you pointed out that there are only like three Asian characters, really, as like speaking characters in the whole movie that takes place in Japan.
Yeah, it seems like there's Asians
Yeah.
everywhere, but they're not talking. But it
Yeah.
Right.
seems like there's so much representation, but really not. Yeah.
We talk about that a lot on the show too, because I think we're watching maybe She's All That. There's a few teen movies where there are black people there, but they're not talking or any, like, you see a lot of
Yeah.
diversity. So you feel like this is way more diverse than it is. And then you're like, wait a minute, they're not,
Nobody says
nobody
anything.
says anything. And
Yeah.
now learning that people get paid per how much they're actually saying in
Yeah.
residuals, you realize, wow, they really did
They got
everything
paid
possible.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's funny because I point out there's like a viral post, like Chrissy Teigen, who's a Sports Illustrated cover model. They there's a scene of her in the Tokyo Drift scene, and they just show her chest, like they cut off her head, and she like posted on Twitter, "Oh, they must have said make sure to cut off her head." And we're like, mind you, now she's a Sports Illustrated
Right.
cover model, like she's
Right.
obviously a beautiful, stunning woman, but they decided to just use her body.
Yeah, not great. Not great. Your career has spanned modeling, music, writing. How do those chapters connect to the themes in your book?
Yeah, I think the running theme through the book is that I felt very invisible and I had a low self-esteem because I was like searching for validation and I didn't get it because growing up in an Asian American household, like they don't say I love you or like give you validation. Like Asian parents typically criticize you to help you be better. That's like the logic.
Right.
So I was very insecure. And then at school, I was boy crazy and I had no attention from any boys. And so I felt invisible. Then I like discovered this one Asian Playboy model on the internet when I was like in high school. And then I like glommed onto her as my idol because there was nobody else to.
Right.
I think the only other person was Connie Chung, and that's like not, you know, I was looking for a Britney, like a,
Yeah, not
a
what a
youthful,
teen.
not, yeah. And that kind of guided my career. So I was like searching for validation. So I became a pinup model and I had some success there, but it didn't fill the hole inside. So I was like, oh, I'm going to prove myself as like more than just a pinup girl. I'm going to be a singer. And then I went there and it wasn't fulfilling. So I ended up landing onto writing accidentally. And I think that's like been the most authentic, like a career I would have never found on my own if I hadn't gotten sober. Yeah.
How did you even get into starting to write?
It was purely accident. Like after our band disbanded, me and my guitarist, we were like, what are we going to do with our lives? We have no backup plan. But we loved to travel because we toured around as a band. And so we just turned our website, which had some traffic, into a travel blog. So we started doing that. And then I started to meet more journalists. And then I was like, oh, well, journalism is like way more legit than blogging. So yeah, I just like took like it's crazy, like anyone can become a journalist. I mean, you have to like learn how to pitch and write, but like I don't have a journalism degree or any
Right.
like extensive experience in it.
But you've gotten far. I mean, you've
Yeah.
written for Rolling Stone. Like, you've been able to take a new passion and be able to turn it into becoming a journalist and now writing your own book.
Yeah, I mean, I always describe myself as a honey badger because I'm little, but I'm like really aggressive. So if I decide I'm going to do something, like I will go tear down the door.
And I know you talk a lot about how Asian women have been portrayed in media. I know you spoke about the Playboy model that kind of you put up on a pedestal in your formative years. Are there any other characters or formative moments where you saw Asian representation and kind of it spoke to you?
Yeah, I think the hugest one of the time period was Memoirs of a Geisha. Like when that book came out, it was, I think the only other book that existed that was about Asians was Joy Luck Club,
Hmm.
which also loved, but it wasn't like as glamorous, you know?
Yeah.
So when I read Memoirs of a Geisha, it was like it takes you in this world of these like beautiful women and their like elaborate, makeup and clothing scenes. And it was very written in an aspirational way almost.
Yeah.
But like the way he wrote it really ignored the fact. I mean, he said it, but we glossed over it, the fact that it was basically a child prostitution movie where she's
Right.
like
Yeah.
trafficked. And then like the really problematic part of it is that the entire movie, like the theme is just about her trying to sell off her virginity. Like this is a formalized practice within the geisha community. But if you ever speak to like any real authentic geisha, they're like, this is not a thing. And the book and the movie made it real, like formal. Like everybody knew if you received this box from a geisha, she was offering her virginity, like it was
Yeah.
very detailed the way they went about it. And of course, it presented Asian women as existing for men,
Right.
basically. And then, like, the idea that the youngest, prettiest woman always wins. And then at the end of the movie, the romantic ending is that she gets to be the sugar baby to this like married guy. So who she
Yeah.
met when she was like 6 years old and he was 40. So all of it's awful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We look back at some of these movies and we're like, how is this even
Yeah.
possible? Like,
Yeah.
super gross.
Well, it's just so normalized how male writers like to write these epic age gaps, like
Yes.
Woody Allen and his 16-year-old girlfriend in like that really famous movie. I'm not a big Woody Allen fan, but there's a famous movie that everybody likes. I think it's called Manhattan or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's like dating a high school girl and he's like 40 or 50.
Yeah, his real life.
Well,
Gross.
yeah, true. Yeah. But I don't even know, like, it's my personal belief. I don't know if men necessarily naturally desire such young women, but it's presented on the media so much. Like, I think media influences us so much.
Yeah.
And for decades, these huge age gaps are being presented. Like, I'll give an example. Growing up, Asian men weren't seen as very attractive because they were like portrayed as Revenge of the Nerds guy or like
Right.
that 16 Candles
Candles,
awful
yeah.
character. So Asian men were kind of emasculated and
They
they
weren't
weren't
deemed as
presented
desirable.
as
Yeah.
desirable in the media. But all of a sudden, now there's K-pop and there's a bunch of women who love Korean men. So it's all just like whatever we sell on the big
Right.
screen. Yeah. So
I
we need
can.
more women writers and
Yes,
directors
definitely.
is
I
what.
will say that there's like kind of this split, right? When you're watching Korean media now, it's very much, I think a lot of the shows are from a female gaze in some ways. Why I think they're so popular because
Mm.
women are living out their fantasies through these shows, and the guys, there's some problematic behavior in some of them, but like mostly these guys are like doing everything possible to like take care of their lady, right? From a media standpoint, yeah, we're obsessed with this fictional look. Not to say all Korean men are bad, because that's not the case,
No, yeah.
but definitely from a cultural standpoint, they're definitely having a culture war between the women and the men. Obviously, birth rates are down across the globe, but especially there. They have the 4B movement happening.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff happening within their country, but then you have media making it totally changing the narrative of how we see.
Glamorizing.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just very interesting. A lot of women are going to South Korea, and if you go on YouTube, there are a ton of videos of foreigners getting pregnant and the dudes leaving them.
Oh, really? What?
Yes. It's
Wait, what?
crazy.
I didn't know
Yeah.
this was a thing.
Yeah. So if you're going to South Korea with your fantasies, just chill.
Well, at least
Men,
don't get
men are men.
pregnant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Men are men no matter where they are.
Yeah, there's a huge problem with that too. I actually made a TikTok about it with like I think Korean men going to the Philippines and getting women pregnant there, and they'll even like pretend to kind of be a boyfriend, but like once there's like a baby, they're gone and can never be found again because it's just like, yeah.
Oh boy. Not no bueno.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Harajuku girl era of kind of sensationalizing and making a spectacle out of being Asian. And that's a specific example of just Gwen Stefani hiring these women to just walk behind her and be dressed in the little Sunday girl outfits. And I know it was rumored that they were never supposed to even speak. They were just supposed to stand there and look cute.
Hmm. And she would call them her imaginary friends, which is like weird. Why? Like, why are they imaginary? But I genuinely don't think Gwen Stefani was trying to be offensive. Like, I think she genuinely loved Japanese culture and she was genuinely trying to share it. And she did bring it like a big platform
Mhm.
and she gave these girls pretty huge careers. But I think there's also like some responsibility. Like, it's okay to say, like, oh, I didn't know back then.
Right.
Sorry. Like I wasn't trying to do it on purpose. Like what,
But
like she refuses to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
right. I think that's the problem. Like we can't even give her an out at this point because
Yeah.
to this day, she she does not think what she did was wrong. She still thinks it's totally fine.
And she appropriated other cultures. She
Yeah,
did
she
Western
did
Yes.
movies
appropriate a
and
lot of other
yeah.
cultures.
Yeah, she had, and that is a part of white supremacy is the feeling that everything is to be tried on. And like
Yes.
costumes instead of looking at people's cultures and people as full human beings.
Hmm.
I mean, it's wild. Like, I could never in my head say, you know what? I'm gonna get four white girls, have them follow me real quick and tell them not to speak. Like, I don't, I don't know how you get there. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's the
Y'all are gonna
wildest
wear
things.
Canadian tuxedos all the time, and you're gonna stand behind me, and you're never gonna speak.
Like, that is like when you put it in that context, people they're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It is. You
Yes.
know, it is a big of a deal. It's worth talking about because it's not a normal thing to do,
Yeah.
you know?
And it would be one thing if she had like a multicultural women, it was just like her girl squad or
Yeah.
something,
Right.
but she like just chose one race and one race that's already like sold as submissive.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
Wild. It was a wild time. Now I look back, I'm like, damn, I really love Gwen Stefani, but I wasn't thinking about it and I should have,
I
you
mean,
know,
she put
like,
out some good, she's a good songwriter.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah, unfortunately. But I get why she moved so conservative now. It's like then she can own whatever, like she doesn't need to apologize for
Hmm.
anything.
I think also that's just who she is. I mean, she grew up very Catholic, and that's
Uh,
what's really funny is that some people you're like, oh, they just need to have exposure to different cultures.
mm,
But I don't think that matters if you've been indoctrinated and if
mhm.
you've rooted in a lot of things that make you not have to deal with.
And if you're not willing to unlearn those biases
Right.
and diversify your understanding of people.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because like her bandmate, he's Indian, right? And that was her ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like,
But
so you would think, yeah. And the band seems like a progressive band.
Right.
Yeah.
to an extent, but also like I just think about what it was like for first gen, second gen kids when they immigrated to this country. We didn't have spaces to like everyone loves our food now,
Yeah.
but when growing up, that wasn't the case. It was growing up in the 90s and 2000s, if you were a little bit different, it was hard. So
Hmm.
you assimilated. And I can imagine his entire band is white.
Hmm.
He dated a white girl. I'm not saying that he didn't love his culture, but I do feel like he probably wasn't questioning it because you look at so many creatives that came out of that time that are immigrants that had a moment of self-hate if they haven't
Hmm.
outgrown it.
Hmm.
Like not to shit on my girl Mindy Kaling, but if you look at some of her characters, you side eye like what's going on up here and how do you feel about yourself? Because
Hmm.
we see a pattern every time you're having South Asian women. Why are they all obsessed with being like every single one of them dates a white Jewish man?
Oh, I wasn't aware.
Yes,
Yeah.
one of them wasn't Jewish, he was Italian, but every one of her characters is with a white man. And look, I'm all about the swirl when it's right, but not when you're fetishizing your own culture, which is insane.
Yeah,
So,
it's interesting because there's a phenomenon amongst East Asian women too, where a lot of people say, well, when you say there's an Asian fetish, they go, well, you have a white fetish, which I get what they're saying because there are some Asian women who don't date Asian men or like are not attracted to them, which it's fine not to be, but I feel like sometimes Asian women who don't date Asian men feel like they need to insult the Asian men to
Hmm.
date the ones, but it's just like you don't need to
girl,
say they look like your brother or whatever, because it's like, do black women ever say we can't date black men because they
no,
look
but
like our
black
brother?
men do the same
Oh,
shit.
do they do the same?
Oh, yes.
They say the sister.
Not sister, but they'll date not all black men, but they will date white women. And we don't say anything. Do you, King? But when they get a chance, they have to talk poorly about black
Yeah,
women.
yeah. Why is that necessary?
I think it's definitely colorism, conditioning,
It's
and you get
internalized racism for the
Hmm.
Asian women
right.
for
It's
sure. Yeah.
same for a black man, you know. the whole thought of white supremacy is to get to the closest to whiteness you can get possible. And unfortunately, dating or marrying or procreating with a white person does not get you closer to being white, unfortunately,
Yeah.
Right.
for these people who, I don't want to say unfortunately, but for them who like are doing that. And
Well,
some
they're
people
doing it
don't,
subconsciously
yeah, they
anyways, right?
don't
They're
even
not aware.
realize.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's nothing like seeing someone having an awakening when they're in a multiracial couple and the person that they're with is really not as down as they think. It's
Mm,
quite
Mhm.
interesting to see unfold, but
yeah.
it just depends.
Yeah, so funny thing is like when people accuse Asian women of having a white fetish. I'm quoting this TikTok I saw by Dr. Gia, and she's just like, did Asian women go like start wars to colonize London and America? And
Mhm.
then after colonizing, did they take all the men and like use them as the spoils of war as their reward? So it's not the same.
Yeah.
I think also, like, especially when you're young, when you're dating, you date a lot of the time who's checking for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if with media, there's this conception, this thought process for white men that Asian women are, you know, easy to control or, they're fetishized. So they will go after Asian women. And again, as you're dating, if I have like a ton of guys that are coming for me, that's probably what I'm going to end up dating.
Yeah, I mean, totally makes sense. I'm not going to date like the non-aggressive guy that I have to chase, you
Right.
know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, how do you see things evolving today in media with more representation in shows like Beef for Everything Everywhere All at Once? Do
I
you
mean, this
think?
whole time I've been saying it's like exponential, like compared to like literally like five things like growing up, and now there's like hundreds, there's like
Yeah.
social media influencers, there's movies, there's K-pop, there's like, you know, all of the Blackpink went on solo careers and they're
Right.
Yeah.
each their own artists, which is crazy. But I will say this, I haven't watched it yet myself, but my girlfriend was pointing out that she was watching Hunting Wives
Hmm.
and there's no Asians in that show, except she said that at the end of the episodes, like there's like a reporter type girl who or publicist who
Yes.
comes and okay, and then she like is giving a blowjob all of a sudden or
Yeah,
something, and that's her only, yeah.
she's the campaign manager, so she's very much like Dragon Lady, like very serious, but also in very like fitted pencil skirts. And then in the very last episode, yeah, she's on her knees giving him a blowjob in the back of a limousine.
Yeah, it's like, okay, just don't put any Asians in this show,
Yeah,
maybe. Like, you don't need to put her as that character. Why don't you
Yeah.
just make her a wife, you know?
yeah.
It's like two steps forward, two steps back, right? So
Hmm.
we have more representation in some of these shows and movies, which is great. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once
Oh, yeah, so
was a
good.
surprise hit for everybody. A lot of studios, they give small budgets, they don't care, and then it blows up, great. But then on the flip side, we're seeing this like pullback with diversity
Yeah.
all around. And so I think we're going to start seeing more and more of these caricatures trying to make its way back onto screen
Yeah,
because they're trying to like put the genie back in the bottle kind of
right,
situation.
right. That makes sense.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how the media is and how they're going to respond to our response to I think we as a people can clock this stuff a little bit more than we
Hmm.
used to. So that should be
Yeah,
interesting.
I think it's more democratic now because I guess we can vote a lot on social. We have a voice now. Because
Yeah.
back when like something happened on TV in the 2000s, you could like just talk to your friends about it.
Yeah.
But now you can like go on social media and like if there's a big movement of someone, you could cause a studio like when Sierra Ortega got kicked off Love Island.
Lesbi.
It was because people like harassed the studios.
Right.
Yeah. So we do have a voice now.
Yeah, I think unfortunately with that situation, it was really difficult, especially for me in my community, to see Black people or, kind of say, well, it's not that big. I'm like, it is because we don't hear that word as much as how we viscerally feel when someone uses the N-word. It's the same, and we need to treat it as so. And just like we say to other groups, you can't accept an apology on our behalf, we need to feel the same way about the usage of that. Like, we can't tell the Asian community when they're going to be comfortable with this girl being popular again or being on the show. Like, they did the right thing because they had already set a precedent. They already kicked someone else off.
Yeah. But it was very surprising to me because I ended up like posting a TikTok about it, and like a lot of people don't consider it or did not know it was a slur. So it was maybe good that it happened just for educational reasons.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So many people did not think it was a big deal. And it's nice to see people in the Asian diaspora sticking up and talking about stuff because I feel like for
Yeah.
a long time it was kind of frowned upon to be outspoken. I don't know if I'm misspeaking, but just from my experiences.
Oh, totally. Well, there's a divide amongst like ethnicities because Asians have been presented as a model minority. And a lot of Asians do subscribe to that. And that's like just an adjacency to whiteness again, like almost white, but not quite. And definitely still a person of color and still dealing with plenty of racism. But it's like the model minority myth was basically created by white supremacy to pit nationalities against each other. So they
Mhm.
could say, like, oh, look at the Asians, they're doing well. They're being
Right.
quiet and obedient. Why can't you guys be more like them? So then we end up fighting each other and like dissipating our energy when we should be like united fighting the patriarchy, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. It is difficult. We have a lot of steps to
Yeah.
take. You write candidly about grappling with toxic beauty standards. How did the Y2K era of media shape your self-image growing up?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a time where like when I was growing up, Pamela Anderson and like
Mhm.
the whole Baywatch, that was kind of like the ideal. Like she was the Marilyn Monroe probably of our
Yeah,
generation.
Yeah.
So she's all the things I wasn't. I ended up getting, well, here's the thing, because like I got some work done. One of them was breast implants, which if we were in a matriarchal society, I wouldn't feel the pressure to get that done, most likely. But I
right.
did get them done and I don't regret them because it made
Yeah,
me more comfortable in my body. So it's still complicated.
Yes.
yeah,
I would rather live in a society where I didn't have to spend thousands of dollars to cut myself open and put something foreign inside me. That's
right.
kind of crazy when you list it out like that, right? But it's
Right.
very normalized.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice would you give to young women or anyone navigating those pressures today, especially with social media amplifying them? I feel like we saw a swing where
Oh,
body
yeah.
positivity was up on the rise, but now it feels like we're going kind of back towards the Y2K era of how very skinny,
Yeah,
very,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important just to have these conversations. Like when Gloria Steinman was like starting her movement, they would just have women's circles where they'd talk about issues and like just having a safe, because I feel like when I was growing up, everybody subscribed to the same beauty standards. So we weren't
Mhm.
like unpacking and saying like, oh, maybe like we don't need to buy everything that's fed to us by the media. So I think it's like a lot better now because there are so many more feminist outlets and like places where you can go for advice. But I think it's important to like surround yourself with friends who are not like blindly accepting everything that's like being shown.
yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the things that is worrisome to me is that like so many women, especially in South Korea, are having the surgeries to lift their eyes.
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
it's
that's an
very
incredibly
popular.
common surgery. It's maybe the
Yeah.
most popular surgery in Asia. And that's like, it's complicated again too, because I don't think any Asian woman goes and says, I'm trying to look more white. But
Right.
like everyone wants bigger eyes. That's like a beauty ideal for sure.
Right.
And then half the Asians in the world have the eyelid. I forgot the term, but
Mono, I
yeah,
forgot.
monolid. And half have a
Yeah.
monolid and half have the not monolid.
Yeah.
And so a lot of women with the monolid feel pressure to get that fixed.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem, I guess, with the surgery, even if it's not their like conscious intention to look more white, is that it was popularized by a very racist white doctor who was trying to like make prostitutes more attractive to military men. And then he would describe the Asian eye in medical journals as dull and like expressionless and like just passive.
Oh my
So,
God. I had
yeah.
no idea. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So it's important to know the history, I think, of
Yeah.
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
definitely. So, our podcast lives at the intersection of nostalgia and cultural critique. What's one 90s and 2000s pop culture moment that you love looking back on, even with all its flaws?
Gosh, I loved Britney Spears. You know, when she did that performance in the nude bodysuit, that was just
Mm,
Mhm.
such a moment. Yeah.
yeah.
And obviously that's like fraught, you know, the whole Britney Spears thing, but like for a moment, it was special until it all fell apart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
The thing about Britney, she was always a girl's girl. Yeah. Like, even the way she dressed herself, I know some of it was from the male gaze, but a lot of it, you could tell it's just things that made her feel good and special. And she would just, any interview you get from people, she was so kind. Like,
Mhm.
Just a nice person. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think she was that, like bad as a role model. They really gave her a lot of crap.
Yeah, imagine like being a young woman and being asked about your virginity all day and
Yeah.
Mhm.
everybody thinking this was okay, you
Yeah.
know.
Wild.
So, on the flip side of that, what's one piece of media you think that we need to fully retire or rethink?
That is a good question. I would say Memoirs of a Geisha, that might be too obvious. What other problematic media was the Austin Powers twins? Oh my
Yes.
God, those girls were
Uh,
awful. Yeah, let's erase them.
what do you hope readers will take away from Fetishize?
I think that just fetishization is not harmless because that's like something men will say. They'll be like, well, it's a compliment that we like you. Why are you getting all mad about it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I think I just brought up a lot of examples in the book that it was born of like rape and war and colonization. And in many instances, it does lead to violence. So there's enough examples to make it like important to not discount.
What are some questions you think maybe from a male perspective, males could ask themselves or to kind of think through if they might not even be sure if they're fetishizing somebody?
I don't know if it's a question, but I think it's just important to know the history.
Mhm.
So whether there's plenty of information online about the history of like the origins of the fetish, I think it's also important to listen to women and not like try to argue with their experiences.
Mhm.
Like even after Me Too, there's so many men like not accepting rape scenarios or like
Right.
still, but it's like you've never been in this situation, so why are you even commenting? So I would think instead of asking questions, listen.
That's a very good answer. Yeah.
Yes.
So, what's next for you? More writing, speaking engagements, any other creative projects?
Yeah, definitely a lot of speaking and then definitely toying around with the next book idea. So gonna do that whole process again. So, yeah.
So, how long did it really take you to write the entire book?
The book, I feel like I could have written it in a year or
Hmm.
even less, but like I had 2 to 3 years. So I
Mhm.
just took my time because there was no point. And the funny thing is, people sometimes ask me like, "Oh, was it so hard to like write these things and put it out there?" When I first wrote some of these like just worst things that happened to me in the book, like it was just theoretical because it was so far from the time it was being published, it just didn't seem real. So
Mhm.
it's just like, oh, I'm like writing a, diary of things, and it was really healing to process these things. And it was only like a month before it came out, I was like, oh shit, like this stuff is going out into the world. Yeah.
How was your family's response to the book?
It's funny because, like, my parents are immigrants, so they can read and speak English, but I don't think they read English books, you know?
Mhm.
Hmm.
They've had my books for six, they had my book before it came out, and I know they haven't read it because they would have called me and said something. But I definitely warned them about, like, oh, there's like sexual assault and like sex and other stuff in there. I think my mom's just so glad I'm not pursuing an entertainment career anymore. She's
Yeah.
excited that I'm an author. I think it's the first time she ever said she was proud of me.
Aw.
So yeah. For years it was like, when are you going to stop this music thing?
I always admire people who can actually sing. So,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. You can- yeah, not so much. Yeah, yeah. I never missed being in a band after I left. That
oh,
that was a
wow, really?
stressful. Yeah.
Well, this next question is going to be interesting.
Yep.
So, Jackie's going to read off some lightning round questions for you. It's just three, so don't get
Okay.
nervous.
So, what is your dream karaoke song?
I always sang Hero growing up. That was
Oh,
just my song.
Enrique Iglesias
No,
song?
not
Mariah.
Mariah
Mariah
Carey.
Carey? My bad. I should
Not
have
gonna
known
be
better.
singing Enrique.
I love that. I like when he's like, "Can I be your hero?"
Yeah, not my song.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a lot of karaoke as that was what we did growing up.
Our time frame for our podcast is 95 to 2005. So, what is a movie from that time frame that shaped you as a person?
I thought Charlie's Angels, I don't know if it shaped me, but it was so bubbly and cute and
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
inspiring and girl power. There were some like a little bit of stereotypes in there for Lucy Liu and others, but like still, it's still a fun watch. I watched it a couple of years ago. So
Yeah,
it's,
we
it's not a
just
terrible watch.
No.
no, we just did it. There were some things that were like, no, but all in all, it wasn't as bad. It could have been
Yeah.
way worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if Fetishized was turned into a film, who would you cast as your younger self?
Mm, I have already thought about this, and it's the girl
Oh.
from Shogun. What's Anna? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's such a good show.
yeah, and she's great.
Well, we definitely loved having you on. It's been so much fun, and your book has inspired so many different thoughts as we're going through it. Is there one hope that you are really hoping that the readers will take one message, especially from the book?
I think for women that it's all about self-love. I think the whole book is me trying to find this outside validation. And at the end, I start to learn that it's self-love. And I'm still, that's like a lifetime journey to like give
Yeah.
myself self-love. But like if we all came from that place instead of like searching for outside validation, we would be so much more empowered. I wish they would teach that in school, really. Oh, I'd recommend a book that I'm reading called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And it's like
Mm,
not that long of a read, and it's like just about loving yourself.
gotta check that
I
out.
love that. Well, make sure to grab Fetishized wherever books are sold and follow Kayla on social media for more of her thoughtful and cultural commentary. And thank you so much for joining us today. I think books like these, especially when you put your personal experience in, are so important for people to just know of others' experiences like we were talking about earlier. And
Yeah.
just understanding different cultural viewpoints and how they're fetishized or put up on a pedestal, or even like you spoke about the history behind kind of how that became. So thank you
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you
for
so much for
sharing with
reading.
us.
Yeah.